and that static are being sacrificed. And that's, if your stuff's not available, they can't hear it. Sometimes you got to feel your way through the dark, and I struggled all the way up into the minute. Peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to all you guys.
This is Hindsight Radio. I represent it. The information station changing the nation.
Hey, peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to everyone. Thank you for another episode of Level Up Thursdays with your host, Karin, and me co-hosting with her. Today, we're talking about ego.
Yep, we're going to talk about ego.
Before we talk about that, we have to get you an intro for that I can play before we do the show. So we got to take some of the clips from your the videos that you've already done, compile them. So send me a bunch of those, and then I could send it off to my guy, and he can compile it into an intro.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So today is the ego.
Yeah, it's the ego. It's I think we can cover it in one show, but I think it's a very important topic to talk about. How do you utilize your ego as an asset or as a liability? It's
That's a hard balance.
It is, and I want to say your show on Tuesday was so good. It was very, very powerful, and I want to give an example and how going to the 9-to-5 job, okay, and how it's related to ego, because you talk about a lot of the 9-to-5 job on your shows and how it's a lot, but. Let's take that. Let's take as an example as a woman go to work, 9-to-5 job, and she comes back home, and everything is great. It's pay her bills. It's a great pay. They go on vacations and all around them, right? But what happened when she comes back home and she has an issue with some of the coworkers, and she talk about it with her husband? And from every day, not only she talk about it, she start talking all the negativity, how she doesn't like that person, and then all of a sudden the executive didn't do something, or and she start hating everybody around her, and she come home to her safety place, to the home that the supportive and the positive environment, but she turns it into a negative talk and a negative energy with her husband. Now imagine that doing it for weeks and for months. Her husband automatically, even if he doesn't know those people, he's going to start hating them automatically.
Right, he's going to side with her.
Right, so that energy going to start to drive, and then that's when the ego comes, but because she think she always right. And she thinks she always do the right thing, and she always the winner. And again, it can be a man come back to his wife. It can be the same. It doesn't have to be just a woman.
Ways.
Right. Yeah. But this is when you start building your negativity around you, and you don't even realize it, and then you asking yourself what's going on. Well, how can I not even moving forward, or what's going on? Why this is happening to me? And you're not. And you go into like a family reunion, and you keep telling your family about your problems at work, and they start hating those people that they don't even know.
Right.
They
start to take sides.
You talk about it. Yeah, you talk about it on your show, and so I'm going to add in today, because this is when you think you're right all the time. And so do you use your ego as a liability or as an asset? Right. How do you? Where's the balance also in order for you to be more successful and be more self-confident and accept criticism? Correct my English. For you to be more successful.
Right. Yeah. What you were talking about. When someone goes to work, you mentioned specifically women, they bring all of that emotion home. So it's hard to be present at home with your if you have children and your husband, if you're bringing the workplace back to the home. And And like, and that has a lot to do with ego because, you know, when you complain about something, you believe that you're right and everyone else is wrong. So what I say to that, that's why I said what I said. Why do people continue to go to these jobs and they hate them? They don't like the people. They don't like the environment. They don't like the hours, because no job is going to give you a perfect situation where it's ideal, specific to your situation. Most of it will work, but there's a lot of areas where it won't. And that's ego too. Why people go into these 9-to-5s? Why? Because they want to fit in to what society says is the correct thing to do. Like I mentioned the example of the young man I was trying to give some. He's about to graduate college, and I just wanted to call him up and just tell him how I was proud of his accomplishment. And I also know that he likes stocks. He likes to invest. He invests in some Bitcoin. He has an entrepreneur spirit ever since I've known him. I've known him since he was probably 13, 14. So he's about to graduate college. And when he was that age, he was into the stocks. So I wanted to encourage him to follow that entrepreneur spirit, because that's the only, if that's where your spirit is leading you, go for it. But his mom, her ego kick in, and that's ego. No, he's gotta, you know, because what if that don't work out? It's always what your goals and dreams don't work out. It's never the job. What if that doesn't work out? Because that, you know, I've got laid off 3 to 4 times in my life working a job. That was my only income. And they came and said, hey, we don't need you no more. You know? And that feeling, especially, and I got laid off when I had children to take care of. Right. The jobs don't care about you. They don't really. You die, they're going to have somebody replacing you the next day. So why don't we get that serious about our own business? Because we can do it. You know, and like you said, there's a good way to use the ego and it's a bad way to use the ego. I think in a good way, you should use your ego like, no one can afford me. No one can afford my labor. They can't pay me enough to be locked down to a job. That's, to me, a positive aspect of the ego. No job can afford I'm worth more than this job. That there. So the bad side of the ego is when you think you're better than everyone and you think you're always right and you always want to win an argument. That's a bad side of the ego. So, but yeah.
Where do you think it's come from? Because I think the ego it's what you tell about yourself. Right. At some point in when you grow up, it's like what are you feeding your mind? So and then when you grow up, you develop either to be, like you said, a self-confidence, the ego that drive you to pursue your dreams and reach after your goals, or the one that puts you down, and all the fears and toxic relationship, even at work. Because this woman, when she go back home, imagine her as owning the business.
Right.
She won't talk about it like that, and she'll be happy, or she'll trying to find solutions how to make things, how to make more money. So this
she will remove the problem. If there's a problem, she's going to remove it. You know. Right. So, I think the ego comes from years of programming ourselves and picking up an identity, picking up false identities. A good book or a good author, I can't remember his book. Oh, I think it was The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. That's where he was one of the first people that I listened to and read his books that talked about this ego, how it's always striving to be right, always got to get the last word, and it's got a problem with everything. Traffic, people, I think we pick up these attitudes or this ego throughout our life. Problems hit us and we say, well, that's not going to happen to me again. that we take ourselves too seriously, and um we create a narrative that we live out. Like, for instance, someone get in a relationship and they get hurt, and they create an ego out of that. I'm never had letting that happen, and so to every relationship they go, they drag that experience into it, and they believe they're suspicious of everyone they get involved with. Well, if you're gonna be suspicious of everyone, why get involved with them if you already starting from a place of lack of trust? Why deal with the? Because all you're gonna do is create that situation in your mind because that's what you believe. The ego has so many multiple faces it could have. It could come from a place of a low vibration, depression, low self esteem, or it can come from a high, too much, thinking too much of yourself. So I think it just comes from all of our experiences, and we just adopt all of these outward experiences and saying, this is me. Mm-hmm. Because the truth is, the real you doesn't have a problem with anything, doesn't have a problem with the environment and things around you. It's people are who they are, can't control them. You just have to choose how you're going to participate in the drama. Mm-hmm. You see? So
Steve says there is an echo when I speak. Now I didn't teach. I hope everything is the same like from last week.
We didn't check, did we? Hold on. I'm gonna there was a button here. There was something, I think. You know what? All right. Let's see how that sounds.
Okay. Steve, hopefully now, if someone can hear us, let us know.
I wonder where that comes from. I think it's the Zoom app. Like if I have it running in the background, it'll do that.
Oh.
Yeah. I turned it off.
Okay.
Mic, Rodecaster Pro.
He said it's still there.
It's still echo?
Yeah, when I speak. I know we fixed it last week.
Nothing changed. All of the settings are the same. So I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Trying to see what it could be. It's just when you speak, because I don't hear it when you talk.
I don't hear it either. And I didn't change anything of the setting on my end from last week. And you said you didn't. Anything on the button over there?
Nope.
No. So I don't know.
No.
That means that we need to do it before the show.
Do a mic check every time. Let me do something that I did. That'll fix it. How's that? When you talk,
that sounds better. Hopefully.
All right. Well, we can keep going because
you have to get up.
I turned echo canceling was somehow unchecked, so I checked it.
Okay. So back of what you're saying, I think like it's like a backpack, and then you load on that backpack. When you grow up, your compliments the people tell you or give you, if it's better or good, the what do you keep telling yourself? It's like you start a shaping of who you are, and then when you grow up, he said it's good now. Okay, when you grow up and you don't know the balance between how to have the balance between those two, and then you really don't understand. It's also the mindset that you don't understand what is it why people show off like that. Those people that trying all the time, I'm right, but I'm winning and I'm the winner. And or people that take it in a different. I mean, I'm trying to. I really want to study that, because it when you realize, it will help you communicate with people in a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially if you manage a team, and it's the early morning sign that when someone speaks and he says me kind of thing,
Right.
it's always about me, and I'm right, and I did this and I did
Right.
that, and so.
Yeah. Is you're right when he says a backpack or baggage that we carry around that we think
Mhm,
is really up. We really identify with these things, believing that it's really that's me, and that's where the problem comes in when we take and identify ourselves with these outwardly things. This is me. No one can talk to me like this, and just it's and the ego has caused a lot of people to be in prison
mhm.
over something very
Right.
silly. Ego has caused families to fall out. You know, so many things is a very damaging thing. Ego is not bad in itself, it's just how you use it, how
Right.
you present your ego. That's when it's bad. The ego, I believe, needs to. It's a mechanism in place to protect you. You know, as a like almost like a sentry. Okay, it's looking for something. Okay, be careful over here. But in our modern times, we have taken the ego, and it's just out of control. This is why you got people on the internet going back and forth with each other.
Mhm.
You know, of he said this about me. I got to come back and say something. But why? Why do I have to say something back that someone says? If it's not true, who cares? Most people, yeah, people might come, oh, he said this about you, and they just try to boost it up. But at the end of the day, those people that's boosting it up and the people that even believe it, it doesn't really matter to your whole life. Doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Excuse me. It
Mhm.
doesn't really matter what they believe or what they think about you. The only thing that matters is what you believe about yourself. That's all. Your own family is going to get the wrong idea about you sometimes. What do you do?
Right.
You'll be fighting everybody or arguing with everybody trying to correct them. Who cares if they're right or wrong? Like, who cares?
Right.
At the end of the day, I started to learn that over time. Like, it doesn't really matter what they think, you know, because no one's trying to help me pay the bills. That's how I c- put it into perspective. Like, none of these people are coming writing checks over here. Excuse me.
Right. They just tell you what to do. You need to
Right.
do this and you need to do that, but why you don't do this? Nobody, like you said, nobody pay your bills. You
Right.
need to be responsible and get things together for you and your family.
Hmm.
And but if you think about it like that, if you carry a 5 pound dumbbell in your backpack every day, and every time someone tell you something that you don't like, and you add another 5 pounds dumbbell, and you carry it around another 30 days, and you add up more weights into that
Yeah.
backpack, at the end you'd be so tired and heavy from
Right.
all these heavy compliments that people gave you, which is not a compliment, it's more like trying to weight you down,
Hmm.
instead of you be like, okay, no, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm about to do it for myself.
Right.
That's why when you want to say something to someone, always make sure it's powerful and lifting, because you can tell me something and I can receive it different than the person sitting next to me.
Mm.
We can have a different reaction of what are you saying. Someone can take it very negative, and someone can take it very positive.
Mm. Hmm.
So
Right.
yeah, so I think that you tell yourself that you can do it, and your ego will drive you to start taking those actions towards your goals, towards your, if you want to have a business and you want to make more money, or you want to be more happy or more peaceful, or whatever that your goal is, You
Mm-hmm.
keep, like, it's again, it's all about the mindset and confidence that we talked about last week. That's the
Mm-hmm.
confidence that you have within yourself, that you trust yourself, and you don't care what other people think about you. And when someone tell you you need to, when you hear the word need, you automatically know, oh, this is not what I need. This is maybe
Right.
something that you need, but
Right.
not me. So
You gotta be having somebody tell you you need to do this and you need to do that. You have to follow your spirit. And that's reason why I think a lot of people are unhappy. Because they're not following their true self. They're following what other people think they should follow. Or what they think is good for uh what people would like them to do.
mhm,
Like for instance, you see, like you might see somebody. I'm trying to give a good example of people see something wrong with someone, but don't let them know. Like
mhm,
say they have something on their shirt, something, um, and they'll just let them just keep walking by, and won't say anything. Um, I don't know why people do that because I'll say something. Hey, I don't know if you know, but this is going on. I'll say something, but people don't help other people in a situation where they know they need help, and I think that's a form of ego,
mm. That, yeah,
being afraid of speaking up, or better yet, being afraid to tell someone the truth. They rather tell people a pretty lie than a hard truth.
yeah,
Oh, it's okay then, because they don't want the conflict that might come with it. I think in a way, on that side of it, it's a what you call a passive, being passive. Your ego is being passive now instead of
mhm,
overly aggressive. See what I'm saying?
mhm,
The ego could be highly aggressive or highly passive.
mhm.
So people watch someone doing something crazy or just in a crazy situation and won't give them the truth. Or you might say something to someone that is the truth and they get upset because you told them the truth. Why did
True.
you have to tell? Well, why shouldn't I tell you? Shouldn't you? Don't you think you want? I think people have created an image of themselves, and whenever you tell them, give them a different image of themselves, or say something that gives them a different image, they get offended
Right.
because it interferes with how they see themselves, or
Mhm.
it interferes with them being accountable.
Right. Yeah, I can
So,
see that. I when I managed the team, when we travel from state to state, and one of the person came to me and said, "I don't know why I'm not selling. I can't sell anything. It's like almost noon." And I said, "You maybe you want a gum because his breath was really, it's, you sit with customers and you're trying to
right,
talk to customers." and and he came to me and he said, "You know what? Thank you for letting me know." And that showed me too,
right.
because a person with ego will never come to you and tell you thank you.
They'll
Thank you
just
for
laugh
letting. They
about
were
him behind
like,
his back. Yeah.
yeah. So when, like you said, it's he understand
See,
that
people
and he
just let them
accept
just
that.
walk around and tell them, I know that's a difficult thing to say to someone, or is really not a polite way to say that.
Mm-mm.
You said
Or
get a gum, that could be construed as being sarcastic,
right.
but you were just trying to help them. Hey, because
Yeah. But imagine saying it to a customer. A customer can take it really, really like, what are you talking about? I'm
because
like,
they not paying attention, they can't
right,
hear. They just want to get
So
away from there. They're like, let me get away from this. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So
yeah,
it can
that's
be. So yeah, I mean, I think that find the balance between those assets and liability, we'll call it the ego.
mm,
Once you know how to balance them together, you can achieve everything.
now.
And all the toxic people, you just gonna let them go, and it can be work, relationship, people, work, whatever, it's whatever your life. And I think this is when you're gonna see a different path, like you're gonna see a different, like we talked about it before, when you enter that world of spirit, it's a different world. When you enter that world, it's different. You see different, you see things in a different way. And I think once you get to that level, it's amazing. It's
Right.
amazing. So
You
yeah.
just have to control your ego. I don't think you can't get rid of it. Just got to
No.
control it and be conscious of it.
Right.
You know, because sometimes the ego jumps really fast. By the time before you know it, it's out there. You know, it's like if something happened. I know with me in the past and sometimes in the present, it'll jump, boom. And then I noticed that when I just sit back and calm down, it's usually not as serious as the narrative I'm creating in my head. See, the ego likes to tell stories. It likes to tell. This is one of the things that I liked about Eckhart Tolle. Tolle, everyone wants to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I do consultations, people call me for my advice, but yet they take up most of the time telling the story. And most of the story doesn't have anything to do or even matter to why they call. And
Mm-hmm.
so while I let them go for a while, and then I say, okay, let's stop right there. Let's concentrate on what you what you came for. And
Mm-hmm.
some of them would get upset and still want to tell the story. So I just let them tell the story. Okay, you finish. And then I bring them back to where they came from. If I think a lot of problems could be alleviated, and most people I know with mine, I alleviated a lot of my head problems that I created by not trying to tell all of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
Because think about those stories. The ego has created a narrative of what they believe is true.
Mm-hmm.
And most of that stuff is not even true. It's just an
Mm.
assumption.
Right.
And then when you get to the real story of it all, you're like, oh, okay, this is why this is the case. This is why. Okay, let me, for instance, we needed a certificate of insurance from my insurance agent for our truck. And every time we give it a broker, we have to renew these certificates to make sure our insurance is up to date. So my business partner, he sent the email with, because we can't send those insurance certificates. The insurance agent has to send it directly to him.
Right.
So he sends the email, and then the person who was requesting to say, okay, make sure I get this is after he had sent out the email. Make sure I get the certificate so I can expedite it. Because if it goes to corporate, they're gonna take days to get this fixed, and you won't get this load. We was trying to get a load yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He emailed the agent again and said, hey, please send a copy of the COI to this guy too, as well. And so the agent, whoever was behind that computer, now I assumed it was my actual agent, but it wasn't because it came from his email.
Mm-hmm.
They said, oh, next time, please tell me all of the people that you wanted from, and so I can send them all at the same time. So when he called me and told me what his experience was, I said, wait a minute. We're paying a lot of money for our insurance. If I ask you to send it and we missed something in the beginning, I feel like you should just send that, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
all ready to get on the phone and say, hey, listen, what's the issue with, this? I don't think that's how you should treat customers. But it wasn't him. It was someone else who was manning his email who was not professional, because
Mm-hmm.
I've never had that interaction with him before. Never
Mm-hmm.
had that problem. So it was kind of out of place. But had not taken the time to just sit back and wait, because I needed another certificate within an hour. I needed to do something else. And because usually I text him and say, hey, listen, he's okay, I got it. Got you. See, that certificate, I was dealing with him directly, but it was someone else who was doing it. See, but if I'd have got on this case without knowing, let my ego get out of place, hey, I'm paying $31,000 a year. What are you talking about? Just send whoever. If I ask you for
Yeah.
100, you send those certificates. So I'll get me another agent. That's actually what me and him was talking about.
Right.
but it wasn't him. See, that's how we have to be careful and take our time. And the Bible says that be slow to anger. Just
Hmm.
slow down. It was someone else who wasn't even worth talking to, about it,
Right.
even dealing with. You see,
But
but
you learn how to do it. You
right,
see, you learn how to take that 10 seconds pause and like, hold on a second. Because I
yeah,
think I work with my ego before I know. I know
right,
I worked a lot with when someone came to me and was straightforward, and I appreciate him for that, who told me like you need to start working on not you. It's just more like let's do it as a team. Let's build together. Let's do this together. It's not about you and you're not right all the time. And he was very straightforward. He
right,
told me some stuff that I was listening. It was hard, but I was listening. But we
right.
learn how to like you said to manage that ego, then I
Because
to get
a
in
lot
the
of times
way.
it's not important to come back with the response. Just let it
Right.
roll. Because think about it, happened, it already passed. Move on to the next project or the
Right.
next thing that you need to do instead of staying stuck in that place. And that's what people do. People get hurt in situations and they stay stuck. That ego keeps them stuck right there. How could this happen to me? How could they do me like this? And it keeps them in that same repetitive mindset, and they wonder why they're not successful. It was because you still stuck in that moment when you had the problem. You keep talking about it, keep thinking about it,
Hmm.
so
They stuck for it's not even days, they're months. They
mm,
stuck and they don't know why they're not moving forward.
you know
So always ask
because it's
yourself
not
like
the,
what
the,
it,
the, e- the ego has blinded them into seeing that it's them and not the other person or not the situation. The ego
right.
has that's the one bad part about the ego. It really clouds your perspective on seeing reality as it should be seen
Hmm.
because it always telling you, speaking back at you, no, you're right, they're wrong. No,
It's true.
don't take that. It's
Right.
constantly that there's a conversation going on. That's why I said on Tuesday, we're 180 light and 180% dark, and that's where the ego comes in. And
Hmm.
what I mean dark, not in a bad way, is dark that the ego can't see everything.
Hmm.
It can only see what's in front of it and interpret that. Whereas the truth of you can see everything above every which direction. It can really see and say, okay, there's no need to be alarmed. Just relax. Everything will be okay. But the ego
Hmm.
can only see what's in front of it and deal with that immediate situations. We just have abused our the ego abilities, and we use it in the wrong way.
Right. I think it's also take a lot from a person to come to say, you were right, I was wrong.
Right.
It take a lot from a person to do that. But the more you're doing it, not only you feel good, but the other person feels good as well. So why not? It's everybody's happy.
Right. I think it's hard if you've never done it, having put it into practice, to apologize. Once
Right.
you do it and you realize how liberating that is, you'll understand how important it is to apologize immediately or don't wait.
Right.
Once you come out of that dark place, and that's another reason why most people stay in a stuck place. They don't know how to come out and take accountability for their wrongdoings. They run from it. They try to sidestep. They try to avoid the person or the situation.
Yeah.
E- Instead of they know they're wrong and they're shame, they feel that shame, and they'll just try to avoid. It takes me back to the story of Adam and Eve. One of the s- morals of that story is accountability, because when they were confronted with what they did, they passed the buck on.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of that's what the Bible said. Well, they once they ate the fruit, they saw their nakedness, and they became ashamed, and then they began to hide. instead of coming and being upfront about what they did and speaking on it, they chose to
Mhm.
hide. And then when it was confronted with it, they tried to hide even more. And that's an example of what happens in real life. We know we're wrong, we try to avoid, and then we create one narrative after the other just to avoid the simple words of I apologize, which could have nipped it in the bud
Right.
immediately. And you wouldn't have to live with all of that shame and trying to avoid, duck and hide. Just create more drama and stress for yourself.
Mhm.
But people choose that all the time. They choose that path. That's the path that most people choose, is that path of avoidance of accountability.
Why do you think they choose it? It's easy. That's the easy way.
I think they believe it's easy because in the short term, it's easier just to run the other way. But
Right.
you always gonna come and face that problem again, whether you see them again or not. You're gonna keep reliving that. You're gonna always. I knew I didn't apologize. I didn't do this, and then over time, you deaden your truthful your senses, your spiritual self. You deaden that, and you become that darkness. And
Mhm.
because you didn't fix that, it's a ripple effect. Because you didn't fix that or take care of that, it ripples over into every part of your life. And it keeps growing and growing. Then you become more dark than light over time.
Mhm.
Whereas if you just brought the light to the situation immediately, you wouldn't have to deal with that anymore. It's done.
Mhm.
It's put at rest. You apologize. You know, and I believe and another reason why they don't do it is because they're afraid of how the person is going to respond to them.
I think that's the
Don't
big
want that
issue.
response, but it shouldn't be. The apology is not really for them, it's for you. So how they respond, that's their choice.
Mhm.
They want to say, yeah, I know, and be egotistical. That's on them. There was a situation uh, years ago, just as an example. My daughter's mom, they didn't get along for years.
Mhm.
And I always encourage, it's not about who did what. It's about who comes and rectifies the situation. But you don't know why she's gonna say this. I said that's not important. How she reacts. She has freedom. She's becoming a higher self is allowing people to be themselves or whatever they choose to do. It's up to you. It's you are the one who has to
Mhm.
own your truth or be the light. If they
Right.
don't accept it, that's not what you're going to do it for. You're just going to correct the situation. That's where the ego kicks in again. Well, they did me wrong and I don't have to do that. No, you don't have to do it. But is it the right thing to do for you?
Right.
Especially you're talking about somebody like your mom, right? So one day she runs into her mom in the store and they both look at each other and pass each other by and don't speak.
Mm.
And I said, and she was telling me like that was okay. Like I was like, that's not okay. I said, you should never walk by your parents and not speak to them. I said, that is a biblical principle.
Mhm.
Honor your mother,
Right.
your days will be long. It didn't say that your parents were gonna be right. That scripture doesn't say only if they're good parents and they're right. It didn't say that. It said
Right.
honor. And if well, she might not have spoke. So what? She didn't speak. You spoke. Now you can
Mhm.
say you did your part. And shortly thereafter, I think maybe a year later, she passed.
Oh.
And I had always warned, like, yo, if you don't fix that, that's gonna be a hole that you
Mhm.
never feel. You can never get that because once it's too late to talk to someone, it's too late.
It's too late. Right.
Passing is too late. You could speak, but you're not getting any feedback. I said, one of the things you're gonna want her to cuss you out. You would rather have that than to have the alternative.
Mhm.
And that's where we have to start growing up. It's not about who's right. who did you wrong. It's about you and how you come to the being honorable. If they don't take it, you did your part. You did it. You
Right.
cleared the air. You can't. They can't say you didn't come to them and try to talk to them. They can't make. If they do, they can, but they can make it'll be a lie. But the apologies and the forgiveness is not about forgiving someone else. It's about forgiving yourself. A lot of people look at
Mhm.
that wrong. Oh, I forgive them. That's ego.
Right. True.
That's ego.
Yeah.
I forgive them because they did me wrong. That's ego. Because what you're
Right.
saying, I was right, they was wrong, and I forgave them. And you see that. I don't know if you did a lot of church because you grew up as a in the Jewish faith, but in a lot of the churches, all you hear people when they're talking things and they coming up and doing their little confessions to the pastor, it's always, yeah, somebody did me wrong and I forgave them, and they patting themselves on the back, you know. And I'm sitting there saying, that ain't that's not what I'm like, you so far off from the mark because you really still, if you have to sit there and come to church and say I forgave them, then you really didn't forgive them,
Right.
because forgiveness don't talk about it, right?
Right.
But the forgiveness is not for them, it's for you and your healing in the situation.
Right.
it's it's your healing, it's about you, because the true response is, yeah, I was hurt in the situation, but I do realize how I played a role in that situation as well. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't all on them. It never is all on the other person. 100%. It isn't. Now
Mm-mm.
there is a weight and balance, but at the same time, it's still not 100% on that person.
Right.
Because guess what? You chose to get involved with them. You chose them, regardless of your truthful self saying not to.
Mm-hmm.
Think about
Just
old relations
right.
that you got in that didn't work out, right? And you get out, man, I should have never, something told me in the beginning that this person wasn't right, all these red flags, and we ignored them and wished for the best. And it never got better, it got worse. Your truth had told you to walk away the moment you met him.
Right.
The truth doesn't, your truthful side doesn't allow you to stay in a situation for long before you get warned. You really get those warnings right at the beginning.
Right.
You
It's
choose
right.
to
You're right.
look over
Yeah.
them. Why did you look over? Oh, they look good. And you're looking for that physical, you put the physical connection over the spiritual connection. You
Mm-hmm.
just pass off because you're looking at everything outwardly instead of what your inwardly self has said. Walk away. Leave this person alone.
Right.
But
People
ego
ignore
kicks
it.
in. Yeah,
Ignore it. They're ignoring it. So.
right. So now I've learned when I get into those situations, it was my fault. It's not their fault. It was my fault
Mm-hmm.
because I ignored my truth. The God in me said no. And,
Right.
and guess what? And you probably could agree. The God in you actually prophesies over the whole situation and tell you how this person is going to be and how they're going to turn out. And
Yep.
guess what happens? They just it all comes true. You just choose to ignore it.
Yep.
You get the what you call, people call it the gut feeling,
Yeah.
but I call it divine providence. You get that divine providence right at the beginning. You know,
Yeah. People ignore it. Yeah. It's the first thing that come to your mind. It's coming like in seconds.
like
It's coming. It's the first thing that come to your mind, but it's just it come and it go. It's
and
like moving like a really
you
fast
see the
cloud.
picture. Yeah, you see the picture, and then uh, the ego kicks in and say, "Oh, you just being hard on people," and start talking because the ego is only attached to the physical world,
Mm-hmm.
and it just you start self doubting yourself.
The intellect. Yeah. When
Yes,
you start judging and or like, oh no, it's no. Yeah.
you should follow and step back. Take your time. Someone told me it's better to do without and not experience the situation than to go into the situation and experience it. Just it's better to back off,
Mm-hmm.
give it time, because
Right.
time tells you the truth.
True.
Things and people tell you the truth without saying the truth. Just watch them. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to accuse them of anything. Just pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
What they will do, how they are, especially when they receive pressure or opposition. That's when you know who you're dealing with. When they don't have their way,
Mm-hmm.
when they show you who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that.
Yep.
Oh, I've gotten that truth so many times when that's why it's not a good idea to go into situations just letting a person have their way because you won't know who they are until
Mm-hmm.
they don't get their way.
Right.
You won't
Yep.
know. Yeah.
Yep. And you know how simple is it is just to listen, like you said, to the spirit. You just listen. It's very simple.
Hmm.
And you got your answers right away. If yeah, yeah or no, no.
Hmm.
That's it. Yep. So I'm
Right.
looking at my notes, but yeah, I think like I said, we can go in, but it's just the balance that it's how do you use your ego. Try to find the
So
right
what do you
balance
think is a
that
good
works for
idea
you.
to do to kind of keep your ego in check?
Yep, always. Always.
Yeah. But what things can you do to put it in check, to keep it under, keep a watch on it? What techniques can you use? I think we talked about just be slow to respond. That's one.
Right. Pause before you like, yeah, just pause before you say anything and try to ask yourself, okay, did I say something that maybe offend the other person, or how can I maybe, I'm trying to think how to put it in the right words.
Hmm.
Um Always pay attention to your ego. Which direction is take you? Is it take you to something positive or something negative?
Right.
Yeah, this is the check. It's where it's gonna take me. Like you said, the first reaction it's a yes, yes, or it's a no, no. Where is going to take me?
Right.
Not what you're trying to get out of it, but what everybody else, it's gonna benefit everybody, or it's just gonna benefit me at the end. And I say, oh yeah, I'm a winner, I did it, but everybody else around you didn't really, is not happy or any situation. So
Right.
um it's like don't get your ego get too big, but don't too small.
Right.
So yeah. So
Yeah. Yep. I
always
think we covered everything that I can think of on ego.
I think so too. And I think that Revenik has a really good lesson about forgiveness.
Hmm.
Maybe you can play it next time or on the Telegram, because he actually teaching you to forgive yourself first. And
Right.
this is how you forgive. You have to forgive
Yeah.
yourself first in order to forgive other people.
Right. And then you realize you don't have to forgive anybody once you do that.
Right.
Because it's not important that you
Right.
gotta, because when you come to a place of forgiving people, like I always gotta forgive someone, you're saying you're the victim all the time. You become that victim. I'm the victim. And we're
Mm-hmm.
not victims.
Mm-mm.
We're a victim. If we're a victim, we're a victim of our own hand in the situations we allow ourselves to be in. And realizing that it's our own mind that is choosing to take offense to whatever it is that someone does or something happens. It's our own mind.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like people have jobs, and we talk about that. People, oh, I hate it. This job is always changing the rules. Well, you're not a victim. You chose to work on the job. You don't want to work somewhere where they're constantly changing the rules. Find you another job or make your own job where you don't have to worry about changing rules. But once you own your own business, you realize you got to change some rules from time to time because how you was doing something, you have to change it.
Right.
So So the people from my employee position don't understand why the bosses are changing rules because they need to be so they can stay
Right.
profitable. So,
Right. Always.
that
Yeah, I mean, it's true. Yeah.
right.
Maybe they understand, maybe they won't, but it's true. You need
Yeah.
to, it's like you need, in order for you to be successful, you need to step out and change something in your daily routine. So when it's come to your business, you have to change some rules if you want to move forward. It
Right.
can't be the same thing for the system need to change in order to grow. So
Uh-huh.
it's the same thing. It's like, I mean, like you said, people don't accept it. Just
Right.
okay, find another job or create your own.
Right. If you don't like someone change the rules, then when you become the boss, you realize you'll be changing rules too. So
Right.
that's when you get that the understanding why they're changing rules. It don't
Right.
make sense to you. You're just one person serving one function at that job. Whereas they're at the top trying to get multiple functions to work together.
Hmm.
So
As an employee, you see one way. As the
selfish.
owner, you see the whole picture around. So you get a better. So sometimes they don't make sense to them, but as the owner, you can see the whole everything above. So you can.
Right.
That's how you make the changes. But
Yeah, the employee level is on a selfish level because they're only thinking about what they got to do their time. And that's what they're paid for. They're paid for to just worry about their responsibilities.
hmm,
Yeah, they say teamwork, but really it's your responsibilities that you have to.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna finish with this.
All right.
Always, if you think you're a victim, always ask yourself, did God created me to be a victim?
Right.
That's the first question you want to ask yourself. And
Right.
I bet the answer be no. And that will help you to make decisions or take the next steps in order for you to be more happy, not to be a victim. Make some decisions of where you want to go, how you want to do it. But always ask yourself, did God created me a victim?
Right. Now, the Adam and Eve story, I've heard some people try to say that Eve was a victim because she didn't know she was created after Adam. No, she wasn't a victim. She knew full
No.
well what she was doing, and she knew full well that she had done something outside of who she was there to work with. She
Hmm.
went off on her own and did her own decision and then took that decision and brought it back. So there was no victim there. She made a conscious decision
Right.
to follow something that was contrary to what she was being taught or knew.
Hmm. Hmm.
So uh what's his name? Myron Golden put it really good when he said they went after lack instead of the abundance because they had all this abundance and this one thing they was missing, they wanted that over the abundance.
Right.
And that's what happens. A lot of us, or I have, and get into situations and we just see this one thing that's not right and we'll hone in on that and not look at everything we already have and be appreciative of that.
Hmm.
Maybe that one thing that you don't have is not what you need. Because if you understand how this universe is made, we already have all what we need. And a lot of stuff that we need, we don't even go and try to get. We go get the stuff we don't need. Like we go run after situations that place us in mental bondage and physical bondage instead of freedom. God gave us the freedom and the free will to be able to create our life the way we want to make it, but we choose to go after lack by going to knocking on somebody's door, filling out an application. Can you give me a job? And we'll sit there and fight with thousands of people for that one job.
Hmm.
Like I remember years ago, when we'll close on this, the jobs that were sought after in New York was the government state jobs. And you
Hmm.
had to take a test. I went and took a test for, I think it was corrections officer. There was thousands of people in there taking this test. I'm like, all these people, and everybody's hoping to get this job. And you have to wait years to be called. Like, you take the test, it'll be 2-3 years before you get called to the
Oh,
job. That's how, yeah, literally. And
wow.
thousands of people are chasing after this because the state got benefits, they got retirement, chasing after making a little bit of money over a long period of time. No leverage.
Mhm.
In order to really make some money, you have to put in a lot of time, and also you have to do some overtime. You know,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's what the world is taught, to go after the lack instead of the abundance. See,
Mhm.
abundance is in owning your own time. You got all the time to build your business, do things. That's where the abundance is. And then with that, the financial abundance comes with it. So,
Yep.
all right.
I like what you said on Tuesday when you said you don't have to pray for wealth. That's how you said that.
No, you
You
don't
said,
have to pray for us. You already
yeah.
got it.
You say,
It's
I
yours.
was listening. I'm like, what he just said? Say it louder.
Yeah,
That's
you don't have to
exactly
pray
it.
for that. Why
You
are you
don't have
begging for
to
something
pray.
you already got?
Right.
You
Right.
beg, God, give me. Why? I gave it to you already. You chose to go follow man's way of doing things. You
Yep.
walked away from it.
Right.
Right.
So,
So,
yep.
all right, another good show comes to an end.
Another.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. And thank you for this opportunity every Thursday, being
Yeah.
consistent and be here. And with all the technical problems,
Difficulties. We
we
get it
make it
together.
happen. Yes.
All
So
right. All
thank
right,
you so much.
everybody. Peace, prosperity, and extreme wealth to everyone. Have a good night. Until next time, see you on Sunday
Peace.
for Inspiration Sunday. Peace, prosperity.